Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the gathering, purely to look at the garden centre market. This one is slightly different to ones I've done in previous weeks. This time I'm with Sid from America, so we're trying to link Australia and America together to look at ideas that are happening around the world. Some of you will know Sid, some of you won't know Sid. I've worked with Sid on a number of occasions over the years. Sid is a garden centre consultant based out of Ohio in the USA. Say hello, Sid.
Hello, John. Great to be with you again.
Good to see you, even if we're so far apart. Well, let's look at this garden market. And we've given ourselves a challenge. We're going to do this in two 20-minute sessions, so it will give you time to consume the ideas that we're bringing across. Difficult to make predictions at present. There was a Danish politician the other week, and he said it's difficult to make predictions, especially about the future. And this is the situation that we're in at present. The situation is different in every country, and probably the worst scenario is in the UK at present, where the garden centre industry has not been looked on as an essential industry, and there's millions of plants being destroyed. There was a program on the BBC radio this morning about this issue, where the garden centres and the nurseries can't sell their plants, they're all going for composting. And of course, the rainbow has been the symbol that young children have put forward for the virus. One of the nurseries in Aberdeenshire, Young's Plants in Scotland, have actually done a rainbow of plants just before they went to the composting bin. So the UK is doing it tough. Bruce Harnett from Kernock Plants, one of the major producers, has done an excellent YouTube that I'd encourage you to watch on how the industry is responding to the government and the issues they should put forward. So Britain's at one extreme. The other extreme is today the Czech Republic has said that they're coming out of restrictions. What's happening in America, Sid?
Very similar but different. The growers have plants that were planned to be shipped, particularly for Easter, which is tomorrow as of this recording. And many orders were canceled as church services were canceled because of the social distancing requirements that are prevalent throughout the U.S. Those aren't requirements in every state, but in all the states with the big populations, folks are not able to go out and gather and congregate in groups. So we anticipate a lot of dumping of particularly of the Easter-related crops, early spring crops that won't make it into retail.
Now, one thing America's famous for is the Victory Garden. Some of us won't understand Victory Gardening. Can you explain Victory Gardening?
Well, yes, during the World War II times, there was rationing of food in the grocery stores. So people turned to their home gardens, which they were quite adept at growing at that point in time, but they increased the sizes of their gardens. Many people who did not previously garden then got into it. Upwards of 40% of the food during that era was grown at home gardens. It was quite an operation at that time, and that has been included in the curriculum for history in our schools. So the Victory Garden brand is actually quite strong, even though it's been dormant essentially for all these years. So it's being resurrected, and the National Garden Bureau calls it Victory Garden 2.0. NGB.org, they have many resources on their website that are available for inspiration to create your own or to use without fear of license or copyright. So the Victory Garden movement is really getting traction among those who market to consumers and by the general press. So the garden writers, they're called garden communicators. It's quite a good organization here, well developed now, and they're picking up on this messaging. In addition to that, the consumers are just naturally following the idea of gardening at home for vegetable gardening. The grocery stores have many outages. So canned vegetables, for example, are in short supply. Many shelves are empty or just have a small selection. And that is reinforcing to folks the need to grow their own food at home. And this is well timed in our area here. This is the beginning of spring in most of the country. In the far southern parts, they're deep into spring. But the timing is quite nice for planting vegetable gardens in most of the country and will remain that way for the next 3 or 4 weeks.
And there's some good material there that anybody can download, anybody around the world. There's some great material there that would be useful for anybody. So it's a good link there.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's look at some game changes. We're going to look at 10 game changes that we should think about as short term within the industry. We're going to look at 5 in this session and 5 in the next session. Number 1, grab and go. Now, I've been a big advocate of grab and go for a number of years. Looking at grab and go and seeing how big it is in the food industry, I have been convinced that grab and go had an opportunity in the garden industry. And grab and go is where you put the package together for the customer, because all they've got to do then is grab the product and go. So it's in the right container. It's all looking there, ready for the customer to go. I know, Sid, that you're also an advocate of grab and go, but you've taken it to a stage further. What's your thoughts on grab and go?
John, grab and go, as we know, has been a concept for probably 20 years, starting out in the container trend. So when containers were first becoming popular, the focus was a lot of times on mixed containers. But as we see in the photograph here, a finished container with a monoculture, one plant, is quite beautiful and striking, and the consumer would like to buy those as well. We've been limited in the past primarily by availability. The garden centers who have been involved in grab and go and increased the sales of grab and go did so by simple availability. So the last few years, the availability has increased, particularly in larger sizes, and sales have increased. There are subscription programs of grab and go that are sold by garden centers, usually in the spring, that will include a early spring container, a peak spring container, possibly one for summer, another for fall, and then another for holiday, and maybe even another for over the winter. Depends on what area of the country they're in. In the deep south, it would be a little bit different. So the popularity, though, is quite strong. One disadvantage that garden centers have in the States is that the wholesale trade is slow to adapt to this with the larger price points. So they make those typically in-house using a designer who puts those together from components that they pull off the benches. So keeping up with the demand there has been a bit of a challenge, but when you sell those things, they provide labor dollars to pay for more designers. So this has been becoming a trend. Now it's accelerating again. So what we're seeing is the grab and go is one of the first things to go from the garden center during this time when the consumer comes in. They seem to just be overwhelmed with the joy of seeing plants. They're eager to buy, and they buy those quite readily, as opposed to going through the benches and choosing what they would want to put together on their own. They just grab and go.
I was in the city, in fact, yesterday, and dropped into a few garden centres, and I was surprised how stressed consumers were. They didn't want to spend much time in there. They wanted to pick it up and they wanted to take it home quickly. It was very much a grab and go market that I was looking at. Okay, that's number 1 that we need to think about, is that grab and go market. Let's look at number 2, drive-through, no contact pickup. And it's interesting, if you look at the TV and the commercials in this part of the world, in Australia, everybody's promoting the no contact pickup as something that's important. And again, in garden centres yesterday, some people were getting annoyed with the garden centres because they didn't have a drive-through. What's happening in America with the drive-through scenario?
With drive-through itself, we're seeing a little bit of that, not too much, but where a store is readily adapted to it, there are a few who have put this together, and they're doing quite well with it, I believe. The peak of the season will tell more, but at this point, it looks encouraging what can be done. The no contact pickup, though, is very widespread, very popular. Nearly all of the IGCs are adapting to this model of doing business, and the consumer are responding to it very readily as well. The bottleneck here seems to be more in taking the orders rather than fulfilling them by getting them to the curb for pickup. It's also referred to here as curbside pickup, so contactless curbside pickup. I look for more growth in this. Folks who are tackling the e-commerce and we're already there or setting up for it in real time here are doing the best with it because it saves them time on taking that order. The telephone orders are murderous. They're very difficult to deal with because it takes some of the best staff to work on the phone to take the order. That makes them unavailable in the store to do other things that they normally would do. So many small companies especially, it's all hands on deck. They're taking orders as rapidly as they can. And some of them are choosing to keep the store closed to foot traffic in order to do that. Although we're seeing a reverse of that start to happen in the last few days where there's a little bit more opening of foot traffic opportunities depending on where they're located and which state has different rules. And we look for this to continue to increase. The garden centers that had a good e-commerce position in the beginning, and they had the website set up for it and all the automation needed there, and they had inventory online and already had customers who were used to that, really are doing well, very, very well. So the others will be catching up.
Yeah.
As you said, high frustration, very high frustration. We have frustrated consumers, and that creates frustrated garden center people. So right now, frustration is the word.
That's what I observed yesterday. Well, let's move on to what do you know about this no contact plant pickup that's being launched in America? Any comments on how that's working?
We don't yet know exactly how it's working. It was just recently, says launched March 27. They seem to be moving forward with it quite rapidly. SBI Computer Software is the company behind it. So it seems to be their customers, growers who are using their software are behind this. There's a place there that says your store, and you click that, you can sign up your local garden center or whatever kind of supplier they may be. And then these folks contact them and somehow connect the dots. I'm not sure how they're doing that.
Yeah.
So this is just one effort that's being made in a broader scale that can help the smaller folks get on board more quickly. And here, Smart Plant Home, they have a version that they're working on too. So they're not working specifically with growers, however, they have in the past. So they have a large assortment of items online, and the consumer can go to the site, pick out what they'd like to buy, and print out or put into a PDF that they can email to the garden center so that it can be prepared for them to pick up. So it does have some great features to it. One of the great features of Smart Plant Home is they've recently integrated with another company that brought some additional resources together. So these mergers are quite common in the e-commerce space, and they seem to be gaining great traction. It's a much more attractive website than the prior one we looked at. And I think they're going to really help a lot of garden centers get on board.
Okay, I think we're going to see a lot of movement in that area. Yeah. Well, the next one we've got to look at is home delivery. And home delivery is a challenge. And let's look at Plantorama in Denmark. Plantorama have 12 garden centres. They've just bought, well, they bought 11 vehicles and they've rented 11 vehicles, so that's 22 vehicles. Now they've gone for home delivery. Home delivery is a challenge. The benchmark for home delivery is delivering 3 an hour. We need to get that higher if we're going to do more home delivery. It's got to be more of a milk run. And some of you will know that we are a sweet chestnut farm. The reason I went up to our capital city, Perth, yesterday was to do a milk run, where it was a lot easier because we knew the customer was going to be at home. Home deliveries are not as easy as everybody thinks, but it is one movement and one strategy we need to look at. Plantorama have come out in a big way. Home delivery in America, Sid, anything happening?
Yes, very much so. Many people are afraid to go out, especially our seniors. Those that are 60 and older have been warned to stay home. And therefore, delivery has grown in great popularity. You're right, it is very difficult. Many of the garden centers that have a florist service know it quite well and understand the difficulty. In some of our major metro markets, there are already pre-existing networks for floral delivery. So they have drop-up points, pick-up points, and instead of many florists going to the hospital, we have one that makes the delivery for all of them. So that's been a great leg up and a great advancement there. So they're able also to handle other plant material, usually of the smaller sizes in particular. At the garden center level, typically they are not well equipped to do home delivery at any great scale. So they're going from usually one delivery route to the second one. Some are finding outsourcing to work. So there are services that will do home delivery, and those have become quite popular in the grocery industry, for example. And so we've got folks checking into that and expanding that way. I think, John, your observation here with Plantorama is quite wise. This is a market opportunity that may not ever exist again to accelerate your business in a particular direction, if that makes sense. And I applaud them for what they've done.
And of course, they're coming out of restrictions. Denmark's coming out of restrictions in the next few weeks as well. So it's been an interesting move for Peter Bang and the team at Plantorama. Let's look at strategy number 4. Something that's been happening for some time is knowledge comes from their smartphone, click and know. And I think what we're going to see is an increase in that type of knowledge happening while we're in the virus crisis. In this part of the world, we have Plant Life Balance, which has been supported by our industry in Australia. And this has been going for some time, where the customer can take a picture of their room or their garden and then overlay the plants that the local garden centre has. And that's worked exceptionally well. Like Alice, Sid, you've played with Plant Life Balance as well in your part of the world.
Yes, this is exciting. I have had the Plant Life app on my phone for quite a while. And I think this is really where the market was already kind of trending, and this will accelerate as well. Folks are wanting to build rooms, just like we see in the picture there on the Plant Life Balance slide. So that's what they're really after. We tend to think it by plant. Put plants on benches. Each bench has something different on it, and let the consumer come through and decide what they want. So this basically connects the dots for them and makes it easy for them to identify a look that they want to go with, and they see the items that go with that look. So it makes it not only easy but inspiring. They get inspired to create the whole room, the whole context.
Plant Life Balance has done exceptionally well in this part of the world, and it's been moving forward rapidly. We just try and get the next slide. The other one that is in your part of the world is Grow the Future in Consumer Horticulture. It's come through Niche. You want to comment on that one?
Yes, there, several years ago, an organization formed. It's called the National Initiative for Consumer Horticulture. And the impetus in the beginning was to attract young people into the industry as careers. And they started their focus there. But here just recently, in response to the coronavirus, they have developed materials that they're making available for inspiration or for direct use by the industry to promote our products directly to consumer. So that was one of their longer term objectives, but they have accelerated their focus on that. And they're providing some really nice materials. You see the website listed there, consumerhort.org/plants do that. So the hashtag plants do that is the thing that they're using going out with that.
Yeah, and again, I've checked out some good stuff there. The other one that always intrigues me is PlantSnap, and I've been on PlantSnap for some time. And it was interesting that PlantSnap actually sent me an email the other day. Reasons to spend more time with plants was their email. Making you happy, relieve stress, improve mental creativity, connect to nature, great family activity, clean the air, help people recover from illness, make you happy. So there is an app that's there to identify plants for you, but look at the benefits and the added value they're starting to look at now in their packaging. And they're starting to say it's not about the plant anymore. We understand where you're coming from as a consumer, and plants can make you happy and reduce your stress. Are you a PlantSnap fan, Sid?
Yes. I love these apps that identify plants, and I use them myself sometimes. So I think they're quite useful for consumers. And it's great to see this benefit-oriented messaging come to the forefront. Relieving stress, I'll focus in on that one right now. That is a tremendous need right now. People need stress relief, and they're turning to the garden, as they always do in times of crisis. They turn to the garden.
Yep.
There's a phrase that I haven't seen this recently, but recalling from the past, you can bury a lot of troubles digging in the dirt. That's the motto of the day.
Well, let's move on to the last strategy for today. And I'm the one that's been promoting make and take workshops in the industry for some time. And of course, that's all changed now. It's a take and make workshop. Workshops at home run by the garden centre, I think, are critically important. So make and take, it was always make it in the garden centre, take it home. Now it's take it from the garden centre and make it at home. We, as chestnut growers, have started doing a little YouTube cooking with chestnuts, which we do every week. And so we're actually saying to our consumers, this is what to do with the product that we sell. And I think we're going to see more and more take and make workshops in the marketplace. And one that I came across has been promoted fairly heavily in the last week is Colonial Gardens, Colonial Kids Club. And an email that came through this afternoon, I think, from the American Association was promoting how successful Colonial Gardens have been with this one. Have you been in touch with them, Rich, Sid?
Yes, there are several organizations that have been promoting kids gardening for quite some time, and including trying to get it into the school systems, where it does quite well when it's there. But during this time period here where the schools are closed, and many of them are being announced closed for the remainder of the school year, folks are turning to kids gardening a lot. It seems to be one of the first things that they're doing as spring comes along. So it's led to online sales of kits quite a bit. And as you say, the take and make is the new version of make and take. We're seeing that trend also. I think it's an excellent opportunity for our industry, and will have long-term impact. When we think about it, kids can learn all they need to learn in the garden. They can learn their science. They can learn the math. If we ask them to write about what they're doing, their writing skills pick up. And of course, something that they can do is talk about it, so they get communication skills from it. So I'm very excited about the long-term impact as these children get into gardening now that will stick with them throughout their lives.
Yeah. And the other thing to remember is the adults as well. The adults need that make and take workshop. Candide Garden Club is the garden speakers, if you like, of the UK, who started doing YouTube presentations through garden centres, etc. They're into South Africa, they're into America, I'm told now. They should be coming to Australia. So we shouldn't forget the adults either, as far as that is concerned. This is something you brought up. It's more about the place than the plant. Just before we wrap up for this session, you want to comment on this one, Sid?
Yes, I'm excited about this. You know, we've done a lot with selling plants, making plants retail ready and pretty, and growing them into bigger sizes, all the things that we've talked about earlier. But as was mentioned with work-life balance, people want to create spaces. They want to create the whole look and feel of what they're doing, and that's really exciting development and advancement for our industry to carry forward with. HGTV, Home and Garden Television, has been popular for the last 15, 20 years in America, and that created the project-based gardening that we love to see. So where people create these outdoor rooms in their backyard. And it's amazing, as we drive through a neighborhood, you may see no evidence of life in front of the house and when it comes to horticulture. They just do basic maintenance in many cases. But if you go around to the back, and for example, this happens with garden centers when they make deliveries, they're asked to put the materials in the back of the property, then it's a whole different world. It's a staycation, stay in place environment that is magical for folks. So it's exciting that these times will bring more of that. But now we're selling the place, not just the plants. It's even more about their why, not why they're planting, but what they're trying to accomplish. So when we think about why people are doing these things, the relieving stress was one of the examples there earlier. It's create their happy place. So when they arrive home, they have this sense of arrival, and they can go through the house, change over from work clothes to lounging clothes, and pick up a drink and take it out to the patio, the deck, or whatever oasis they may have created in the backyard. We see a lot with fire pits have been a recent trend the last 5 years or so. So folks are going to be out looking for ways to spend their time outdoors, away from the television, away from all the negativity and the constant news that stresses them out, away from the workplace which is at home now. So if they finish working in their makeshift office in the third bedroom, they come outside just like as if they came home from a workplace. So they're trying to accomplish some really life-improving activities that they do, hobby that they do with gardening. But the place to escape is probably the biggest one.
There's some good ideas there. Appreciate your thoughts. And we've got to, as an industry, we've got to use the right words. I'm a great believer that when we're promoting our industry, we should be saying looking forward to. And I come across a lot of negative words in the industry. I think we've got to start saying we're looking forward to, as part of our message, that these are tough times, but let's give the customer hope that things are going to get better. And looking forward to, I think, is an important message. Let's not use negative words. Let's start saying we're looking forward to opening, spring, etc. Well, thanks, Sid, for being involved with me in this session. We'll do another session, another 5 things, and we will put this on John Stanley's Gathering page. I also work closely with the EPOS Bureau, who are Irish. They do software programs for the UK and Ireland, and they're also putting my videos on. And Sid, I think you're going to put this on your page as well. So we should thank everybody for being with us, and we look forward to introducing the next 5 points in a few days' time. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon. Thanks, Sid.